wearing red in honor of Bruce Willis's choice of camouflage gear in Apex. This is the second Edward John Drake directed movie that I've watched. It also stars Bruce Willis, and he directed Cosmic Sin. And with Corey Large, he also wrote Cosmic Sin. He also wrote Breach, and now he's written this one as well with Corey Large. It stars Neil McDonough and Bruce Willis. Now, this is a remake, so they've gone Space Zombies, remake. Okay, so if you're making a B-grade movie, how do you get the rights to remake an old movie? Surely they'd be too expensive, and you remake another B-grade movie. This one being Surviving the Game, the 1990s movie, which I've seen. I saw it when I rented it from the video store. For some reason, I remember this one scene in it where they make Ice-T run on a treadmill for half an hour, because if he could do that, he could probably run away from hunters. So yes, this movie is about hunters. So whilst Surviving the Game is them getting a homeless man into the wild and then hunting him, this movie, I guess Bruce Willis didn't want to play a homeless person, so it's about him who's in a maximum security prison for being the most dangerous or lucky person ever. And we'll let you go, and you can go see your grandchildren if you survive this hunt, and they're going to hunt you and stuff. Okay. So this movie, unlike Surviving the Game, is set in the future. And, okay, it's got teleports and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, all right. And sure enough, it's a movie about them hunting Bruce Willis. Problem is, Bruce Willis is in this movie. What do you mean, Luke? What do you mean? Well, what I mean is, Bruce Willis is only going to be in 10 to 15 minutes of your movie. So if you're expecting a movie centered around him as he tries to evade motherfuckers hunting him, no, you're wrong. This is going to be a movie about the hunters moving in to try and find and capture and hunt him. Yeah, it's going to be more like that, isn't it? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's like Out of Death, right? In Out of Death, him and the other lead weren't in the movie that much, so it's centered around these two corrupt cops, and we find out their life stories and shit. This movie, Bruce Willis has this red jacket on. I know this is the t-shirt, but Bruce Willis has this red jacket on, so he should be easily spotted in the forest, which is supposed to be between Japan and Hawaii, but is really like, nowhere near that. I had to look it up, because I'm like, there's no way this is set in between those two. It's too dreary and crap looking. And I was right. It's Victoria, British Columbia. But we focus on the hunters and their lives and their squabbles with each other. In fact, spoiler, major spoiler here, the hunters mostly kill themselves. Why? Because they can't get along, they want to get the kill. They barely hunt Bruce Willis. He spends most of the movie, this is no shit what he does for most of the movie. Walk around the forest, or he's in the bushes watching the hunters argue with each other, then kill each other. There's one scene that has him just eating his berries, and because it's in the future, these berries have mutated in some war, and now they've got the properties of magic mushrooms. So he takes heaps, and you're thinking like, all right, there's going to be a really cool scene here. He's tripping balls. In fact, it cuts to him. He's saying some weird shit like fuck nature and fuck trees. And I'm like, okay, well, he's been hunted, so I guess he's a bit upset. And then it cuts to the computer lady going, remember, you're going to be tripping balls soon. And that's all the balls he trips, like just swearing at trees. Fuck this tree. I hate it. Like, wow, okay. That's definitely some kind of weird, crazy trip. He could have done interesting things with the camera. You could have had someone hunt him as he's tripping, and how he survives that, and how crazy and weird it looks. That would probably involve having to use Bruce Willis for another weekend, probably. So no. Like, I don't even know why everyone gets so bent out of shape by him not being able to find and kill Bruce Willis. He wears this red jacket, so he's easy to find. Spends all the movie in the bushes, not really doing anything. Doesn't set up traps or anything. Like, I'm gonna make spears and all this kind of stuff. He's got a gun and all this stuff. Oh, they just get angry and kill each other, man. And it's stated that he's been in solitary confinement for 7 years, even though a couple scenes later they say he's been in jail for 5 years. Which is it? Like, at about a 35-minute mark, you realise everyone in this movie is stupid, and no one's actively going to hunt Bruce Willis, and that's exactly what happens. They kind of kill each other. And because he's wearing such a bright red kind of outfit, you'll always know that that character is Bruce Willis. So if there's ever a zoom up on just the jacket going past or something like that, you can almost guarantee that it's somebody else. All you need is to put the red jacket on, which stands out, and they'll be like, oh, no one will notice. Like this lady who they pay to hunt Bruce Willis says, hey, you can use our guns. They've all been oiled and well maintained by the armourer. Guns jar at least twice in this movie. They're not good. Armourer my ass. Movie doesn't... It's a simple concept that they overcomplicated because they brought in Bruce Willis for a weekend and they're like, oh, we've got to have someone to hunt, but wait. How do you hunt him when he's only going to be in the movie for 5 seconds? Oh, let's just have like the battles between the hunters killing each other, and then the last hunter left, Neil McDonough hires other hunters to come kill Bruce Willis anyway. And then finally we get a montage of Bruce Willis killing people. If anything, Neil McDonough should have played the Bruce Willis role, because at least he'd have been in the movie more and you could see him try to survive and stuff. But he's been typecast as this really cool, intimidating, piercingly blue-eyed bad guy, and he's great at that. But this movie is awful, and it's awful. 1 out of 10, just like cosmic sin. Man, why Bruce Willis? Like, alright, he's going to bring people to your movie, sure, but you can't do as much in and with your movie because he's in it for like a weekend and that's it. Just put him in a red jacket. It's fine. I must like these. I must. Part of me must be like, new Bruce Willis movie, gotta do it, bro. I don't know why. They're not getting any better. Maybe Mr. Drake's next film, probably starring Bruce Willis, is better. You want to watch a recent movie about someone being hunted? There's that one with Betty Gilpin that came out a couple years ago. The Hunt or something like that. Watch that instead. Or, I guess, dig up Surviving the Game if you want to watch the original version of this. It was a big flop. I don't remember much about it. But at least the cast in that is more interesting, with Gary Busey, Ice-T, Rutger Hauer. You know, they probably... F. Murray Abraham, I think, is in it as well. I think you'd have a better time with the original. Yeah. Watch that. I don't want to talk about this.